What's going on, Niner fam? It is Peter Lucas, and this is the Niner Fanatic Podcast. Sorry, my voice is a little raspy today, but I've been yelling at kids for the last couple of days. So anyway, we're here to talk today about the game yesterday, between the preseason game between the 49ers and the Vikings. 49ers get the win. Not that it really matters in preseason. But the 49ers did win 17-7, and really it was it was kind of if you're not into preseason because you don't really like watching backups and like all that kind of stuff, then I get it. Like I get it, but that's what you got me here for, to kind of go over the things that I did see and the things that could be something to look for in the future from us fans. And it really comes down to the because mostly it was the backups playing this game. There was about 27, I think, 27 people that didn't play, starters that didn't play in this game. So there's just a lot of guys that we didn't get to see. So a lot of people I can understand. Trey didn't play, so I can understand why people would be kind of leery about even watching the game at all. But there was a lot to like. There was a lot to like in this game, and I was really pleasantly surprised by the performance, other than one glaring aspect of the game that I'll get to later. But for the most part, the defense still showed out. They showed that even our backups on defense really kind of, I mean, it's a really stout group. And especially on the defensive line, I think that we have a lot of guys that would be starters on another team on our third string. So it's like we have a wealth of riches is basically what I'm trying to get at. And we just have to, as 49er fans, we have to kind of temper our expectations, kind of look at these games as realize that they're also going against second and third stringers. So it's nothing to get entirely, this is exactly what's going to happen. They're going to do this against everybody. No, that's not what's going to happen. Like you got some guys that just showed some flashes and things that these are guys that could be moving up as they go along in their career. Maybe not this season, but these are names to be looking out for, maybe for next season. Even if there's injuries this season, we might be looking at these guys starting. So it's a good time to get to know some of these names and really just kind of get settled into because you're not going to hear who's on our second and third string from the national guys. You're not going to hear about those guys. But I think there was a lot to like from our backups and a lot to like from these young guys that we've gotten in the last year or two. So, but let's start breaking down like the actual, like, first off, my first thoughts on the game itself. My main takeaways from this game were we have pretty decent backup quarterbacks. Like I think that it's a major upgrade from what we've had in the past. CJ Beathard and Nick Mullins were, I would venture to say, they were not good. Now, with that being said, we don't know what Sutfield and Brock Purdy would look like against ones, but I would say that I was pleasantly surprised at the level of, how would you say, just the level of like the knowledge of the offense. Brock Purdy really is really impressing me as far as his just comfortability in the pocket, and it seems like he has great anticipation, knows where the guys are supposed to be, and Sutfield has equal. They both look good. That was my main takeaway from this game, was both of our backup quarterbacks look pretty decent. They look pretty solid. And they're not going to be world beaters. They're backups for a reason, but at the same time, like, I don't think that we have anything to worry about it from a backup quarterback standpoint, if that makes sense. So that was one takeaway. Second takeaway is we have a ridiculously amount, just a wealth of riches on this defensive line. There was just though none of their quarterbacks really had time to set their feet and just throw. I think there was one drive where they actually drove down the field on us, but for the most part, they were running for their life for a majority of the game, and which is kind of funny because the 49ers only had one sack, but you could see that Minnesota was specifically trying to get the ball out fast because they knew that they weren't going to have a lot of time. But that was the second takeaway. My third main takeaway for this game was the back end of the secondary. They're not too bad. I'm not too scared of because it looks like we're going to be missing Jimmy Ward for. I mean, they're speculating that it might be like week 1, week 2, like he might be back week 3. So I just look at it as like I'm not too worried about it. I think that looking at our schedule, looking at who's in back of Jimmy Ward, I think that we're gonna be okay. I think that we're gonna be okay. We've got a lot of young players back there, but we've got a lot of exciting young players back there, and I think that they're really gonna inject some youth, inject some excitement. This and some picks. That is something that we haven't had in this place for years. The 49ers have already picked off 6 balls, I believe, 6 balls in 2 preseason games. Granted, it's our backups and they're going against backups. But the reality is this is something we didn't see in preseason last year. So a lot to be excited about. But I really want to start off. Let's start off with with those backup quarterbacks and So Nate Sutfield, I think everybody kind of knows he's going to be QB2. He ended up going 13-17 for 102 yards and 1 touchdown. He had a really nice drive at the towards the end of the half, and it was then they went for 2, and he made another nice play. Just knowing the offense, you could see he has the anticipation. He knows where guys are going to be. He's throwing to spots, and that's what I was really impressed by Nate Sutfield. Brock Purdy is kind of going off of feel at this point, but even he looks like he's getting the offense down pretty quickly, and he has a very good sense of pocket presence. And I think that's really important. That's a really important thing. That's it. Nate Sudfeld, not that he didn't have good pocket presence, but he kind of is stationary in the pocket, and he's not going to really go he's not going to be just running all the time. The guy he's 6'6", I believe, and he's not the most fleet of foot. He can move out of the pocket. We've seen him do it, but he really wants to kind of stand in the pocket and anticipate those throws. And it's just 2 different kind of styles. Brock Purdy's a little guy. I think he's listed at 6'1", but he might be 6 feet. And it's 2 different guys, but I would say that the results are pretty similar. But it was really good to see these guys take command of the offense and really kind of these are things that I think that we assumed were in this offense that we just didn't see a lot of. And this is without these ridiculous run games that the quarterbacks have had in the past. It's just going off of Kyle's system. And I think you can be ready to see a lot of this season with Trey in there. I know Trey didn't play today, but I think you can bet on seeing a lot of this. And it's the same things that we saw in yesterday's game, which is a lot of intermediate throws. They threw a lot of stuff over the middle, waiting for those guys to get open on crossers, just levels plays. And I was just really impressed. But I want to get back to Purdy. Purdy went 14-23 and for 128 yards. He didn't have a touchdown, but I would say that he was a lot better than what the stat line says, because I didn't count how many drops happened in this game, but it was a lot. It was a lot for me. It was a lot enough for me to comment on Twitter about how many drops it was. And they weren't like, oh, well, it hit him in the hand, so they should. It wasn't the type of drop where, oh yeah, it hit him in the hand, so they should have got it. Touching the no, he was catching, these quarterbacks were catching these guys in stride, and they were just dropping balls. They were running. A couple of guys were starting to run without the ball before they got the ball in their hands. A couple of guys they're just muffs. It's hitting these guys in the hands. And I want to say Purdy made a really nice throw to Danny Gray. Unfortunately, it was out of bounds. And I know everybody's going to say, well, it was out of bounds. I mean, how good of a throw could it have been? But just taking the shot play when everybody knew it was coming. Everyone knew it was coming. And to take the shot play like that, and Danny Gray really impressed me in going up for the ball and getting it at the catch point, kind of shielding the defender. It was a really good rep, it was just an aspect of this offense that we haven't seen in a long time. And it gets me excited because these are things that we just knew going into games that we didn't have in our arsenal. And now teams are going to have to take this into consideration. They're not going to be able to stack the box, but I digress. So I honestly, I was just really impressed with the two quarterbacks, and I run and make sure that both of these guys got their kudos. Now Brock Purdy's rating was only 76, but like I said, the drops, if they make those catches if those are catches instead of drops, he's probably over 100 rating. I would venture to say. And then I saw somebody make a comment about the one play at the goal line where the Vikings were obviously offsides. It was so obvious. It was ridiculous. I mean, when I said it in real time, it looked like they were offsides. So the refs just missed it, but apparently it's not reviewable. And I saw somebody say that oh, they're never going to call that. Like, I don't know why they wouldn't call that. Like it is what it is. Like he was early. So the bottom line is that they probably should have had a touchdown right there. There was a lot of points. This game should have been a blowout. And I would think that if our firsts were in there, it probably would have been because if Ayuk and Debo were in there, I'm expecting them to catch some of those balls, especially some of those really easy balls. But as far as the QBs go, I thought they did really well, better than the numbers suggest. So let's move on to the running backs. And I'm just gonna put it out there right now. Trey Sermon is not the one. I just don't see it at all. And I know that he's going to get a little bit of leeway because he was a 3rd round pick and they traded up to get him. But I'm hoping that they try to trade him. And if they don't trade him, they got to trade somebody else, because it would suck. I think all of the running backs except for Sermon have looked pretty good. Every single last one of them. And the fact that Brock Purdy had as much rushing yards as Trey Sermon did, and a better average, I don't know. I just feel like he's not seeing the game. He's not seeing the blocks develop, and he's not hitting the hole. He's still dancing. And even though we all heard that he had been working on just hitting the hole and putting his foot in the ground and going, but that's not what we're seeing on the field. He's not picking the crease, see the crease and run through it, period. There's certain running backs that are doing that. Now, Tyrion Davis-Price, TDP, on the other hand, now he was like a mix of Trey Sermon and another back there where I'm going to mention after him, but he had one play where I thought that he bounced it out and he shouldn't have bounced it out. He got caught going lateral instead of going just getting what he could get, especially in short yardage. I feel like when you're in short yardage, you just got to get the first down. And I felt like TDP probably got talked to on the sideline about that because after that play, he was just running into walls and he was running through those creases like we talked about. And he looked a whole lot better after that because once again, like if he's a big guy and if you've got that power, you should be able to run through a couple of arm tackles, and that shouldn't be an issue for him. But you saw later on after that, yeah, he had a couple of explosive runs like that. He was moving the pile, and that's the important thing for TDP, I feel like, because we've got Elijah Mitchell that has some burst to him, and TDP has some burst. Don't mistake, he's not fast, but he's got some burst. But Elijah Mitchell has the burst that we can get chunk plays on a regular basis, and we saw it last season from him. So, but as far as TDP go, but I just want to get back to Trey Sermon real quick. Is that Trey Sermon is just not like, I just don't see it. I just don't see it in the cards for him now. I'm hoping that another team is willing to take a chance on his talent level, because he does have athletic ability and he has the size. It's all the tools are there. And we're hoping that another team will maybe think that maybe he's a better fit for a power gap scheme. Maybe he is. I don't know. But in our system, it's not really working. So I'm hoping that we're not wasting carries on this guy at this point. I know we're going to see a lot of him in the third game against the Texans, and but I really want to see from TDP. I really want to see from Sermon just some decisiveness when he's going up in that hole. And pause. And I really want to. I really want to look at. I really want to see a certain running back get more touches, because anytime this guy gets the ball, he's electric. But I'm going to get to him in a second. Like I want to get through all these guys. But the next guy I want to talk about is JaMycal Hastie. JaMycal Hastie has looked really good in this preseason, in these two preseason games. If it was any other season and it was any other running back room, I would say that this guy is probably going to be your running back, your second running back. Unfortunately, he's in this running back room, and you've got Elijah Mitchell, who's going to start. I mean, he was almost 1,000-yard back. You got Trey Sermon, who was a third-round pick that they traded up for. You got Tyrion Davis-Price that they drafted again in I believe it was the third round. Then now you've got this other guy that I'm going to talk about. We are going to talk about it. We are going to talk about this man, Jordan Mason. If y'all don't give this man some touches this season, he better make the team. This guy, I don't care that he's going against third stringers. I don't care. This guy runs the right way. He runs different than every other running back on this roster. And if all things were created equal, he'd be my running back one. He would be, no doubt in my mind, he would be. Like, I think he runs better than all of them. But unfortunately, he's an undrafted free agent. They've invested draft capital in these other guys, so they're going to get the first looks. But Jordan Mason had better make this team. I don't know. Like, I think that there would be the rant of all rants coming if he does not make this team. So I don't know. But Jordan Mason looked like a wrecking ball out there, and the offensive line just seemed to, and maybe it was Jordan Mason's running, I don't know, but the offensive line just looked better. Maybe it was because they were going against the third stringers, but it looked more complete. Their blocking was a lot better when Jordan Mason was in there. But it could have been that Jordan Mason was just hitting the holes, and he would see a crease, and you could see it on the videos after if you rewatch the game. He would find the crease, and he's just powering through there, running as fast as he can and running over people, running through people's chest. It was a sight to behold. I think all of us that like Jordan Mason, I could sit here and talk for a while, even though he got only a few carries. So, but with that being said, like, I mean, the running back room, this is a good problem to have, honestly. Like, I can't tell you, I couldn't say how many teams in the NFL would have four guys that could really be the top running back on a team. Like they have some talent in this running back room. And when we get the starters in there, the starting offensive line in there, and they get used to running through those holes, I think it's going to look even more devastating, because as we're going to get to later, defenses aren't going to be able to stack the box anymore. So now it's not going to be up to a point to where you guys can just, oh, okay, well, Jimmy's throwing back there, so we're just going to stack the box, and we know he's not going to throw over the top. That's no longer the case. So you're not going to be able to stack the box. Those running backs are waiting to run over your second level, and it's going to be really. I think it's going to be really good. I think right now in these preseason games, Kyle has been almost. How do I put this? He's almost been dialing up plays just to see. It looks like he's just dialing up plays to see what these running backs are going to do when they see small creases. Like, it's like he wants to see them just take what they can get. Because I think that especially for TDP and Trey Sermon, I feel like that's their weakness. And I know that Kyle probably thinks that at this point. And that's why he's drawing up the plays it's really vanilla. It's some power, some basic traps. And he's just waiting. He's just waiting for these guys. Just hit the hole that's there. Get what you can. I think that he wants to see that from those guys. And to this point, it's been a little bit of a mixed bag. Trey Sermon, we haven't gotten anything. I think the guy is averaging 1.6 yards a carry in both games. So not good. Like, but with TDP, you see a little bit more of explosiveness in TDP, and he's not as, I won't say as bad as Trey Sermon, because I don't want to put that label on him yet. I think that he's an unfinished product, and I think that it still hasn't gotten through to him yet that he needs to just pick the hole and go. So, but it is what it is. Let's move on to the receivers, which I was really disappointed in our receivers in this game. Like, I'm just going to be honest with you. I think the quarterbacks really put them in good position, in really, really good positions to make plays. And there was only a couple that really took advantage of anything. Malik Turner looked good to me. And Ross Dwelly had 3 catches. Tanner Hudson. Let's talk about Tanner Hudson. He had 5 catches, 43 yards. Granted, it was against the threes. I get that. Like, I completely understand. Like, but the man just gets open. He gets open, sure hands. I mean, I think he dropped 1. He had 6 targets. He got 5. So Ross Dwelly, he had 3 targets. He had 3 catches. So, I mean, Willie Snead looked really good. Like, now, but the rest of them, Marcus Johnson needs to be gone already. Like, I think that guy is done. I think he's done on this team. I think he had a fumble, and he missed he had a bad drop, and I'm not impressed with Marcus Johnson at all. But they just have a lot of guys. Like, they have a lot of guys on their second and third teams that aren't bad. They're not terrible. Like, but especially the tight ends. I think the tight end, it was almost like they made a concerted effort to get the tight ends the ball in this game, to see who that tight end 3 2 was going to be. I think Charlie Warner's going to be the tight end 2, but I think they're all fighting for that tight end 3 spot. I don't know that Ross Dwelly gets it, even though he had 3 targets, 3 catches. I don't know that he's going to get there. I think that Hudson is at least going to make the practice squad. Like, I think they're going to hold 3 on the roster, and I think, but Ross Dwelly just has never impressed in blocking, so I'm not entirely sure what they're gonna do. I think they really made an effort to replace that, either get a bona fide tight end 2 or at least a bona fide tight end 3. And to this point, the only person that's really impressed me is Hudson. Like, but it's against the threes, so I don't know how impressed you can be against the threes. But Brock Purdy seems to have utmost amount of confidence in that kid, and he's rewarded him every time he's gone out there. So, but But the rest of the wide receivers, I mean, Danny Gray, like I said before, had a really nice catch. Granted, it was out of bounds, but but he had a really nice catch, and it was. I was really impressed by that catch, because all you hear about Danny Gray is he's a burner. He's going to have to be wide open to make the catch. No, this kid was running routes in this game, and I think that he's more than just a burner. So let's just, I mean, of course we're going to pump the brakes because it is preseason, but I feel like Javon Jennings is another guy that I'm going to talk about real quick, but he had another drop in this game, and with not a good sign for him. He did have two catches, but he only had seven. He had 7 yards, two catches, 7 yards, and I'm not seeing what we saw from him last year. I almost feel I hate to say that it's almost like he feels comfortable, but he shouldn't. He should not feel comfortable at all. The talent on this team, and I know it sounds like I'm downplaying the talent on this team, but Danny Gray, Ray McLeod, I mean, the Ray McLeod, you got Debo, you've got Ayuk, yeah, then you've got Kittle, and like there's too many pass catchers on this team for you to think that and get comfortable. It's just you shouldn't be you should not be comfortable. Let's put it that way. And now he does give them an aspect in the blocking game that nobody else is going to give them. But Malik Turner, I think, showed out on special teams today, which is a good sign for him. And speaking about Marcus Johnson again, he tried on special teams, but the reality was, I mean, but he ended up with a fumble, I believe. It's Marcus Johnson is just not. Yeah, I feel bad for the guy, because I feel like he probably hasn't been the same since Warner knocked him out, and it's unfortunate. But Tay Martin had a couple of catches. TDP had one. Trey Sermon had one on. I think they were both screens. Hastie had one. But Willie Snead. Let's talk about Willie Snead for a minute. Willie Snead is a vet, and honestly, I thought that he was going to be a throwaway type of player, like he was a camp body. And but I would say that he looks good. He looks solid. Yesterday he looked like the veteran on the field that they needed, that those quarterbacks needed, because he was the one catching the ball. I think he had 3 targets, 3 catches. Yeah, but he was the one on the field, like kind of like when they needed a catch, he was there for them. And I think that that's an important piece to have. Now, granted, we don't have Debo, we don't have Ayuk out there, so I think obviously those are going to be the safety valves. And then Javon Jennings was that guy last year for Jimmy, but I don't know what it's going to look like this season, because I think it's going to look completely different with Trey Lance. But I just think there's a lot of camp bodies to get through. Willie Snead, just keep an eye on Willie Snead, because if on that for that wide receiver 6 spot, I really think it's going to be Malik Turner, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was Willie Snead. I really wouldn't. I think that he looked pretty decent, and I think that he's a guy that they kind of need. He blocks well. He plays special teams. I think that that's something that you need, that veteran presence. If one of your guys goes down, one of those wide receivers goes down, you don't want a bunch of young guys backing them up. You might want that veteran presence out there to help out. And so Willie Snead's just a guy to keep your eye on, and just don't count him out. Now we did have some fumbles. Like I said, we had Marcus Johnson. Brock Purdy had a fumble. He actually gave the ball to the other team. But we also recovered one. I think one of them, Jordan Mills, got back, and then Sammy Womack. Sammy Womack made another big play when they needed it. Somebody knocked the ball out on special teams, and Sam Womack just happened to be there for he just happens to be around the ball again on special teams. So Sam Womack is I think he's going to be a special player. And I think that we all assumed that the nickelback spot after last game was just sewn up, but after this game, it might be a little different, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. But it might be there might be a little bit of competition there, and I'll get to it in a minute. But let's move on to the defense, because this is my favorite part of the team, and I want to get into what we saw from this defense. That now the Minnesota Vikings scored 7 points, but I would say that they really kind of got lucky to get those 7. And there was a couple of batted balls that if they would have been picked off, they wouldn't have even got the 7. So, but I want to speak about this defense's, because they got another couple of picks in this game, but I want to talk about the aggressiveness, the aggressive nature about them going after the football, and not just from fumbles, not recovering fumbles, not just interceptions, but these defensive linemen batting balls down, like going after the quarterback's arm. I think it's so impressive. It's so different from not that they didn't do it at all last year, but it just seems so much more obvious that that's what they're trying to do, rather than get sacks, because they know teams are trying to get the ball out quick against them. But yeah, I was very impressed. I was very impressed by by the defensive line and by this team in general. And it was, what's going on, Mariah? Appreciate you coming on. But yeah, I want to talk about the defense. Let's start with the defensive line. So Drake Jackson, let's talk about Drake Jackson a little bit. Drake Jackson is that kid. For them to allow the 49ers to get this kid in the second round, fall this far. Now, I understand why he fell. He was misused at USC. They were trying to use him as a dropping coverage linebacker in some instances, and like that kind of stuff. And while he could slim down and he could do that with the 49ers, he's gotten a chance to add weight, play at a comfortable 270 pounds. This kid is athletic. He's dynamic, and he has a nose for the ball. He is relentless in pursuit. I just love this kid. And I wasn't happy about the pick. I know it's going to sound sacrilegious, but I wasn't happy about the pick, because I thought we needed a safety. But the 49ers know better than I do. They got this young wonderkind of a kid that is just, he's great he's just firing off the ball. You're not going to guard this guy one-on-one. I just don't see it. I know he's going against the 2s and 3s, but I think that he's going to be just as dynamic when the season starts and he's going against 1s. It's the technique and the power that he has, and the speed and athleticism. His change of direction is crazy. He's leaning one direction, can completely stop on a dime and go the other. When a quarterback is, he doesn't leave that contain. I think he's good against the run. That's a whole nother aspect of it. And I think most of our ends are really good against the run, which is key, because just so you guys know, that was the reason why they always used to stick Eric Armstead out there on the end, was because they needed somebody to hold that, to set the edge in the run game. But I don't think that's going to be an issue anymore. Eric Armstead is going to be able to thrive in the middle of the field next to Javon Kinlaw. And I'm going to say it with the emphasis that it deserves. Javon Kinlaw, this man, because that's the only word for him, is this man. That he was out there just mauling guys. When they didn't double him, when they were stupid enough not to double him, he was throwing guys out of the way and getting to the quarterback. So all these guys that sat there and said, oh, he's a bust, he's this, he's that, he's whatever. The man was injured. He says he had an interview, after post-game interview, said, hey, this is the first time I've been healthy in a long, he said it like 6 times, long time. So he's feeling good. He looks like he feels good. And the energy is picking up because he's making plays. He's great against the run. He's really good. He's been really good on pass. And when they, like I said, if they don't double him, he's throwing guys out of the way. This guy is super strong, like, and super quick for his size. He had a sack. Like the man is like I don't know what I'm going to call him. Like I got to give him a nickname, but I don't know what I'm going to call him. But right now he's a man, and that's my nickname for him right now. He's a man. And but back to Drake Jackson. I think Drake Jackson is going to be starting by the end of this season. I think he's going to get a majority that looks, especially on third downs. But and that is not to say that there is a weakness behind him. Ebicom looks good. The Komoko Toure is another guy that has been honestly, it kind of sucks that it almost sucks that we have such a wealth of riches on this defensive line, because on any other team, Komoko Toure would be a beast. Now, granted, he had some injury issues in Indianapolis, and this might be the best situation for him that he's using the situational aspect. Like, but I'm really rooting for this guy. He is tons of energy, uses great technique, athletic, strong at the point of attack, really good against the run. Like, I can't talk enough about this defensive line. Like, and Ridgeway played. Let's mention Ridgeway. Give Ridgeway some love. He was really good. Like, I thought he looked really good. He had a penalty, but I thought he was really good. He looked really good pushing the pocket back. He made it like I thought he was just going to be a run stuffer, but he was pushing the pocket back in the pass game against the pass. Like, it's the way. Can we just get this out? Chris Kasurek is the best defensive line coach in the NFL. I think all of us as 49er fans, if you didn't know who our defensive line coach is, understand, and we're probably one of the few teams that knows who our defensive line coach's name is, but just think about it. This man has taken everyone's failures and turned them into players. Just think about that for a second. Who was Arden Key? When they picked him up? Nobody was saying anything about, oh, that's a great pickup. Maurice Hurst, same thing. Now, granted, Maurice Hurst didn't play. He hasn't really played, but they just get guys. They get guys and they give him to Kasurek, and he turns them into ballers. It's not a question of he's going to make them better. It's just a question of how high are they willing to go. But I think the culture of this defensive line and the culture of this team, having a guy like Nick Bosa that I feel is really willing to help the younger guys. He's talked about it in a couple of different interviews. I think with having him on the squad, all these guys all of our main guys take a leadership role on this team, and I think the culture is just so crazy. It's so crazy. And if it sounds like I'm standing right now, I am. Like, I'm completely 100% standing. But all right, enough of me standing about the defensive line. They looked tremendous yesterday. Those quarterbacks none of the quarterback, Mannion or Mond they couldn't set their feet in the pocket. Now, granted, they got 7 points. But every other drive, it felt like they just couldn't get their feet set to throw. So it was another good day for the defensive line, and that it's obviously going to be a strength of this team. Amenahu looked good too. I want to give him some love, but he did have one play that I was really kind of perplexed by, where he did just decided he wasn't going to set the edge, and they got a big time run off of it. I think it was Madison at the time, but yeah. So let's talk about the linebackers real quick. Oren Burks continues to impress. I don't think anybody thought that this guy was going to be anywhere like close to a factor on this as a backup, but I mean, the guy is just everywhere. He had 8 total tackles. He had 5 solos yesterday. And in the game before that, he had quite a few. He had like 8 tackles by the half. So Oren Burks looks really good. Flanagan Foles looks solid. All of our guys, like, and it could be just the system that D'Amico runs, but they just fly to the ball. They played a lot of zone. They didn't play a lot of man yesterday. They played a lot of zone yesterday, and it made them fly around. I felt like it made them fly around even more than normal. I think that gives these guys a chance to show their athleticism, because all of them are not huge linebackers. They're all that lighter, on the lighter side, 220, 225. And but I think that's where it shows up, is that they're able to be in position. They get to that position and they just start gang tackling. Like, so yeah, the linebackers looked really good. I thought they looked really good. Now let's talk about the back end of the defense a little bit. Back end of the defense, they looked really good. Like, now granted, they weren't going against any burners. Their wide receiver core and the tight ends for Minnesota, besides those Jefferson, who didn't play, and Thielen, who didn't play, they just don't scare me at all. Like, where our guys were obviously athletic and they were getting open still. They had drops, but they were getting open. Like, their guys could not get open. And I mean, that's a testament to our defense, but it's also, I think it kind of says a lot about the talent that they have in their building. And I wasn't really impressed by their backups at all. So I think it was a little bit of both, but because of that, a certain guy got to shine, which I mentioned earlier that I was going to talk about this guy, because Sam Womack, of course, he shines. He's always going to shine in coverage. He had another good day of reps. But Diamador Lenore, this is a guy that I said on past podcasts that I think that he may not make the team. After his showing towards the end of last season, where they didn't even want him on the field, I thought that this guy, it was going to be hard for him to make this team. But he has been one of, in camp and in these preseason games, he's been one of the best corners out there. Now, granted, E-Man and Shavarius Ward haven't played any of the games. So, but as far as the backups go, I mean, he's been solid and easily one of the best tacklers and the most physical of the corners. Easily one of the most physical, I would say. Him and Sam Womack are both really physical for their size. And but Lenore has this way, and I want everybody to pay attention to it next time they watch him play. But he has this way of, he gets in position to make the tackle, and then he's like a kamikaze. Like, he gets an extra step and just launches himself into the guy. It's really, he creates collisions. And it's great to watch. Like, I love it. And it's but yeah, he had another good game. Tariq Castro Fields got on the field, and Tariq, I'm just going to call him TCF because I'm not going to say Tariq Castro Fields every 2 seconds. But TCF, that man, he's got a little ways to go. Like, I like that he's a willing tackler, but this man's got to work on some technique, because he was obviously not as physical as the other guys. A lot of drag down tackles, and one, the guy, he just missed the tackle. But I just really feel like TCF could be better. It's a mentality thing. Like, he doesn't have that. What I see out of him is he's in position. He's in really good position. He stays in good. He's not going to get beat. He wasn't going to get beat because they had him in off coverage. But the issue with him is when it's time to come up and make the collision, he just gets up there and puts hands on him and tries to drag the guy down, instead of coming with some aggression and coming with some sense of urgency. That's what I want to see out of him. And I'm hoping that I see it the next game, because I do feel like he has the measurable traits to be good, whatever position you want to put. I know a lot of people thought of him, and I thought of him as maybe a candidate to move to safety because of his measurables and his size. Like, but not if he's tackling like that. He's not going to be no safety if he's tackling like that. So I want to see him get more physical. And I think that because of that reason, we're probably going to see him probably move to the practice squad. I think he's a prime candidate for the practice squad because the measurables are there. Like, the ability is there. It's how do we unlock that mentality in him, and how does D'Amico get that out of him? So and there's a lot of guys that are on this team right now that already have that. Holman, I feel like, has that. Honestly, the rest of the guys, all of them, I feel like have that. So he sticks out like a sore thumb. TCF kind of sticks out like a sore thumb when he's out there. Because he just seems kind of unsure of himself when he's doing things. So, but I think he just needs to trust in his ability a little bit more. But yeah, Kadar Holman, I think that even though he gets beat now and then, I like the aggression. And I like that aspect. I think that that's in this defense. I think that him being a backup, I think that that's going to keep him. And honestly, I don't know if he's going to make the team or not, but I feel like that's going to keep him on. He does make the team, I feel like that's what is going to keep him on the team. Is that it's his level of aggression, his sense of urgency, and but yeah, we've got Tavares. I want to mention Tavares more because I feel like he had one really bad play. He had one really bad play in last game, and we all know what it is. We all know what that was, but I don't think that there's a reason to just give up on this kid yet. Like he made a good pass breakup, and I don't know if anybody saw the play, but he had to come from straight middle field all the way over. And I think that's what's going to keep him on the team is his athleticism and his speed. I think that he was aggressive at the catch point, and it's yeah. I like Tavarius more. I just do. We're going to mention Odom. George Odom had a pick. And George Odom had a pick. It was kind of the same, almost the exact same play that he had in the practice, which, yeah, like, I mean, granted, I guess he probably saw the route and he had just undercut it, but I like George Odom. Like, I don't know if that's bad to say, but I think that we're in pretty decent hands with George Odom if he has to play for Jimmy Ward, if they end up playing him. I mean, it might be Travarius Moore, but I think that they're more comfortable with George Odom. I think that he plays with he's in the right spot more than Travarius Moore. And I think that he has better technique than Travarius Moore. And I don't think that he's athletic, obviously, but I think that that's something that we're going to have to look at. And I think that that's going to, because I think that both of those guys make it, but I think I'm interested to see who they start at that if Jimmy Ward doesn't start week 1. So, but I would venture to say that it's probably going to be Odom. I like Odom a lot. He's a guy that really could use a little bit of oomph at the point of attack. Also, he could be a little bit more aggressive, like at the tackle, but I mean he does his job and he gets guys down. He's in on most of the plays. I like George Odom. Like so I'm not mad that he's here. Like I feel about him almost the way I feel about Oren Burks. I'm pleasantly surprised. Let's put it that way. I'm pleasantly surprised at his ability level. And I think that with the players around him, it's allowing these guys to look better than they may have looked on other teams. So, but anybody else that I needed to mention? Oh, of course, we got the one Taylor Hawkins he was the other guy with the interception. So Taylor Hawkins, who probably is not going to make this team. If he does make it, it'll be on the practice squad, but good pick. Like a good play, something that really, I mean, when you in these situations in preseason games, that's how you make the team. You got to make plays. And kudos to the young man for taking advantage and making a play. Now, does he make the team? I don't know. I don't think so. But I mean, he may make the practice squad. That could be. Like, I hope that he at least makes the practice squad because I feel like he's been solid. But I want to say Quantrez Knight is another guy that is he may be in that safety mix that I would like to see get more looks at safety. I think that they really need to beef up that safety room. And a couple of these guys that because I think they have a lot of corners, and I think that they're gonna try some guys at some different spots because they all have ability, and it's just about, and we have one of the best coaching staffs in the league, so why not like see if we can learn them a new skill set. People forget that Jimmy Ward was a corner. He came in as a corner, so he didn't become a safety till what, Kyle's second season, I think. So it's entirely possible that one of these guys makes the move to safety, and I just think that we all need to keep our eye out for that. If we see it in this last preseason game, just keep an eye out for it. That's all. But the last thing I want to mention, because it was really the source of a lot of our struggles at the beginning of this game, is the offensive line. I know that I probably should have talked about them at the beginning of the show, like when I talked about the offense, but I'm going to mention them now. Let's put it this way. I don't ever want to see Sutherland at center again. I'm just going to put that out there. That man is terrible. He is terrible, straight up and down. Like he should not be. And I get it if they decided to move him because he was so bad at guard, but I don't think he makes the team at all. I think that I think he's here because of injuries, and I don't think that Jordan Mills had he had a bad game, too. And I guess that would be the strength of the Vikings. If they did have a strength, it was their defensive line. Their defensive line actually looked pretty decent against our offensive line, but it looked like Kyle was just trying guys out at different spots than they had normally been. Like he was switching guys that had normally played the right, but were all of a sudden playing the left. We had Sutherland at center. And yeah, I really want to see Donovan West get a chance to play at center. When he was at center, in my mind, he looked pretty decent. Now, granted, it was going against the threes, but he got to practice with the twos this week. Maybe they didn't like what they saw. I don't know. But he didn't look good at guard. I will say that. Donovan West did not look good at guard, but I feel like Donovan West is not. He's going to be on the Aaron Banks plan, and I talked with. I had an interaction with Brad Graham on Twitter about Donovan West going through basically doing the Aaron Banks mold, basically getting a year to sculpt his body and get it ready to be NFL ready. Because I think that's really what he's missing. He's kind of, I won't say slow. It's hard for him to get to the second level. I will say that. I don't want to say he's slow, but he's just not so sure. I'll say it. He's a little slow. He's a little slow. He's a little less athletic than he looked in college. I'll say that. And it's kind of a little bit of a struggle for him to get to the second level from what I saw. And honestly, in pass protection, he gets knocked back. And it could be because of his height a little bit, but I think that there's something there. Because what I will say is he's not getting beat at center. I didn't see him get beat at center. I saw him get beat at guard, but I didn't see him get beat at center. I'd like to see him get some work with the twos. Kyle doesn't have to do anything I say, but I'd like to see it. And but though Sutherland, I don't ever want to see at center. That's a wrap for that guy. There was a couple. Burford looked outstanding again. Burford looked outstanding. Aaron Banks was solid. I think that Burford makes Banks not look as impressive because Burford is coming in as a rookie and he's doing everything correctly, that he's doing really well. So it makes Aaron Banks, who's been here for a second year, but he's been solid. Aaron Banks has been solid. Like, you don't see him get beat a whole ton. I like Aaron Banks. I'm happy that it looks like he's going to solidify that left spot next to Trent. And I think our only question mark is, how is Brendel going to do against ones? I think that's our one question. And I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. It'll be interesting to see in the game this Thursday if the teams play their ones. I know that Trey Lance is going to play, so I would assume Brendel's going to play, but is so I guess we'll just say we'll look and see on Thursday. Like how about that? I think we're going to get a good idea of what we're going to see week 1. It's still going to be vanilla coverages and vanilla play calling, but I think we're going to get a better idea of what to see out of especially out of the offensive line from a blocking standpoint, and what they're capable of in pass protection. So I'm just it seems like it's a really short span between games, but I'm really excited to see it. But for the most part, I would say that the 49ers, if I had to grade this game 2 of the preseason, I would say that it was a solid B plus, even though the score doesn't look that way. I'm going to change that B. I'm going to give it a B because of the drops. The drops were egregious. They should have blown those guys out though. Like if there were no drops in that game, or even half, they probably blow Minnesota out. And so just I would say a B. I would say a B because of that, and and then also there was and then there was a fumble. I would say because of those couple of things, and then the offensive line play was not good. It was not good, but they had a bunch of guys out of position. So I just think that there was a lot of tinkering and experimenting going on, and I don't think that that's a true testament to what the offensive line is capable of. So, so I'm going to give him a B. I can't wait for this game. It is in Houston. I thought I was going to get to go, but it looks like I'm going to have to do my other job that day. So it's but I would say, but I think we're all excited to see Trey again, and that's really what it comes down to. I think Chris was talking about Jimmy Ward. He was a safety. He was forced to play corner. I think in college he played a lot. I think he played a lot of nickel. He was known as a hard hitting corner in college. So I'm not entirely sure. So don't quote me on it. But I would say that it doesn't really matter now. He's a safety now, and he's one of the best safeties in the league, top 100 now. So. I was really pleasantly surprised at our second and third string. It was obviously better than the second and third string of Minnesota by leaps and bounds. So take that for what you will. But I'm gonna get out of here. I'd like to appreciate everybody that watches this, and make sure that you give me a like, comment in the comments. Thanks, Chris and Mariah for showing up in the comments today. But I really appreciate all of your guys' support, and I'll be doing another show probably this Wednesday before the game, and then I'll probably do another one on Friday. I'm shooting for Friday, right, the day after the game. So make sure you look out for those. Make sure you hit that bell for the notification, and if you're watching on YouTube, they'll also make sure that you tell your friends that they can get it on any audio podcast platform that they use. They can listen to it there too. But yeah, I really appreciate everything and all the things from everybody. So but yeah, I appreciate all you guys. So until Wednesday, go Niners.